This is Whiskey 4, November, Charlie, Quebec.
Whiskey 4, November, Charlie, Quebec. Is that a roger?
Whiskey 4, November, Charlie, Quebec. Is that a roger? USL. Yeah, you worked on my radio months ago, and I don't remember exactly which radio I was using. I think it was my TS-870, and I'm on a different radio now. I seem to get into the Lumpkin School District in Georgia pretty well. That machine seems to hear me pretty well. I don't know about Pennsylvania. Can you hear me very well?
Yeah, you're doing about 20 over on Milford, PA, roger?
Doing about 20 over on Milford, PA, roger? Yeah, I don't want to waste all your time. Maybe just general advice, like a couple of things I might do to improve things, because I spent a lot of your time last time. I think it was the TS-870. I'm running a 101 right now, the newer 101 ID, the low power one.
Roger, what's the name there?
Roger, what's the name there? My name is Alan, Alpha, Lima, Alpha, November. I'm running the FTDX 101D to a AL-80B, about 700 watts PEP to a dipole. This is my summer dipole, which is low. It gives me less noise. And I find that even though I don't have as strong a signal, transmitting the signal, the noise ends up being better in the summer. I go to an antenna closer to 50, 55 feet. When it stops raining, I'm going to put that up.
Frequency is in use.
Frequency is in use.
Roger, Alan. Well, gosh, we have the world's poorest tuner-upper or deliberate QRM. I'm not real sure, but the gentleman did have a problem, and it sounded like he was trying to tune up, but then again, maybe it was just deliberate QRM. I never heard anybody have to tune up that much. Anyway, Alan, the radio that you're on now sounds really good. I just have a question. What's your location now?
What's your location now? Well, I'm in Black Mountain. Black Mountain. It's immediately east of Asheville, North Carolina, in the mountains at about 2,500 feet.
Oh, yes, sir. I've worked a lot of 2-meter repeaters up in that area. But that specific one, are you in North Carolina, Roger?
Are you in North Carolina, Roger? Yeah, I'm in North Carolina, right east of Asheville. I can see Mount Mitchell, 41 miles, almost due north.
Yes, sir, Alan. I just moved over to my local antenna, and I see it melting. You're about 30 over on my local antenna. And that Mount Mitchell is one of my all-time favorite repeater DX hits. I've been in that repeater about 9 times. It's a 400-mile trip for me, and I just enjoy that. That's one of the greatest repeaters in this part of the country, maybe overall. I think it's 6,000 something feet above sea level. I talked to the gentleman that actually put that station on the air, I think, before he passed. Roger?
Yeah, there's a couple. A nearby mountain has one that's about as tall. I think Mount Mitchell, the peak is like 7,700 feet, 7,600, and their peak is not quite that high. They also have a large parking area that's at about 5,000 feet. It's a great place. I don't have any HF mobile capability, but if I did, I'd like to join the folks that are there on summer weekends primarily, parked in that parking lot in their trucks or whatever vehicles, and running HF at 5,000 feet, and they do really well.
Oh yes, sir, and it's amazing. You know, of course, you know it's not every day, so it's a real special event when conditions permit accessing that repeater. But there's a lot of great people up that way, and I really enjoy that. I was a habitual Yagi antenna builder, and I had at that time I think 10 or 12 Yagis around the house that I built, and many times I would bring them all to bear on the target and just rotate the inputs and listen to the white noise and pick the hottest one. Roger?
Yeah, I have almost no experience with Yagis. The only Yagi I've ever owned was on 6 meters, and that was back in 1964, 1965, near Cleveland, Ohio, outside real close to the lake. Other than that, it's just wires. I use resonant monoman dipoles fed with either open wire line or coax. Don't like fan dipoles. I don't know why, but I have this belief that that a fan doesn't work as well as two separate resonant dipoles fed with separate lines. I have no way of justifying that belief, but that's what I've always believed.
Roger. Well, I don't know. It just seems like a big pain to me, because there's a tendency when you're working on one that you wind up working on or experiencing more SWR on another. So if I can keep them apart, I will. And tuned dipole antennas, I think, are the greatest thing in the world. They seem to me to be very, very efficient, and that's what we are running here for the last 6 years. And our SWR is somewhere around 0.05. Roger?
Yeah. I don't worry about SWR that much as long as it's below 2 to 1, because I don't have a transistorized amp that's real touchy and doesn't start folding back on me. I never. This is the only amp that I own right now, and I run at about 750 watts, and that's just about it. It seems to be enough. There's one argument that says that for VHF and high frequency, being on the mountains is an advantage, but some people say it doesn't help at all at the lower frequencies, and that may be true, because there are flatlanders at the base of the mountains here that do about the same as I do, and on 75 and 40. So I don't know the answers. The antennas have always been a mystery to me.
Yes, sir. Well, I think VHF and UHF, it's important for height, and then when you come on down there, I think 40 meters, 80 meters, not so much. Probably maybe not at all. I mean, maybe you want to be like 30 feet above local terrain, and the rest is, up to Mother Nature and skywave. That's what I'm talking to you with, and it doesn't have anything to do about ground wave, Roger.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that the elevation would make much difference on skywave, and that's what close-in stuff is. Typically, it's real noisy on 75, of course, and especially also 40, but 75 and 160 in the summer. So I run a low antenna and for transmit and receive, and it reduces my transmitted signal. I'd be louder now if I was on a higher dipole, but thered be more noise for me. And most of the time I figure that the signal to noise ratio is better in the summer if I run the dipole not much more than about 30 feet, and I'll run it up 50, 55 feet. I'm in the woods, heavy woods. The wire, insulated wire, actually wraps around branches, which is not a good thing. And when the leaves fall off the trees, they're mostly deciduous trees, the antenna appears to shorten up. and so the tuning changes, which is kind of what you'd expect. There's capacitive coupling, I guess, I'm told. And I think I get out better generally in the winter, especially on 160. Right now I'm in the process of building another beverage antenna. It's going to end up being about 800 or 900 feet. But I'm 76 years old, and it's just an awful lot of work to clear that brush out again and all the kudzu and garbage that has grown up that I have to walk through, and I try to hang that as high as I can reach. And then I'll have my high dipole at closer to 50 feet directly above it. And that works out pretty well on 160. W4NCQ.
Roger, Roger. Alan, well, I wouldn't do a thing with your radio on this frequency. I mean, you're like 25 over. I've been looking at your audio curve. It's very nice. You have a nice amount of bottom end, very well balanced to the top end. Frequency activity down to about I don't know, 125 cycles, somewhere down there. So I'm copying the mail using 7300. You just sound beautiful. So if you want to hear your audio, if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for KC9VKV, followed by the word logbook, that will take you to our Qso-Vlog page, where we're currently celebrating 2,800 Qso-Vlog aircheck recordings. This recording will be cut number 1, and I'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow. Roger?
Okay, I will check that out. By the way, I don't have one of those high-priced microphones. I was thinking of getting, like one of the shears or one of the types that the radio broadcasters use that are, $600, $700, $800. I'm just using a Heil 781 now. I think it's $160 if I had bought it new. Of course, I got it used, and it seems to work okay. One thing that I like about it is I've borrowed some of those expensive mics. I have one heck of a job rolling off the load. They're always so doggone boomy and hard to understand because of all those loads you got to get rid of. This mic, it comes with a lot of them rolled off. So I'm using a parametric EQ, and I have the lows rolled off at 200 hertz, minus 10 dB.
Yeah, Roger, I'm seeing very flat curve down to, it looks like about 75 cycles. I have a spectrum analyzer on the set, and just to explain what it is, I have 3 white marks on that spectrum analyzer. First mark to the left is 100 cycles. First mark to the right is 1 kc. Then there's a blank space, which is 2 kc, and then another white mark is 4 kc. So just in a way of explaining what those marks are on my spectrum analyzer, and you're just wall to wall, really, Roger?
Well, that sounds good. Thank you. I'm glad. I got one question. But when people say you sound nasally, you got nasal, and I've been criticized for that before, and I've got written about it, by reducing the frequencies in the, I think around 1,000, 1,100, somewhere between 800 and 1,100. And I think that's what got rid of them by notching those. Is that where your nasalness comes from?
Nasalness usually comes from the nose. And if you do have that problem, then you just simply move the microphone to a lower ebb in your speaking to it, rather than upper. So you're talking about trying to minimize, just like noise, where you would want a tight mic noise, so you don't have noise like a blower or something. Well, you can work your microphone the same way. Move it more towards your mouth and less towards your nose. Come up at a down pitch, but even below your nose quite a bit, So you're maximizing your voice to the microphone as opposed to up in the resonant areas of your nose.
Yeah, I was thinking you could do the same thing maybe by notching certain frequencies, but I've just kind of played around with that and never come to any conclusions. And the proximity effect is not as bad as it is on other mics on the 781. If I move in, I'm talking about 1.5 inches away, and I have the mic gain back down. Now, if I can talk from 3 or 4 inches and crank up the mic gain so that the ALC still runs at about 50%, is where I always run my ALC at 50%, and that will give me more highs and less nasally sound, but they say the fidelity is not as good, so I tend to talk relatively close to the as a mouth and just back the mic gain down till the ALC peaks an average of 50%, and that's where I get the best reports. I found that reports from other stations are so unreliable. I'm sorry, I babble here. I'm 76. I'm an old man, but and I do tend to babble. But you just can't rely on other people, because you find out that they've been listening on a Collins at 2100, giving you audio reports, and you're talking about frequencies that are closer to 2500, and they say, well, you need more highs. And I tell them, well, you need to get a better crystal filter or whatever in your receiver that's wider. So I don't know where the truth lies. Anyway, let me get out of here, and let you help somebody else. And I'm going to look forward to hearing myself tomorrow on your recording. This is a W4NCQ in Black Mountain, where it's been drizzling all day long.
Roger, Alan. Gosh, your audio is just beautiful. I wouldn't change a thing, and I wouldn't care what anybody else said. So what? Everything's fine, and it's just again, gosh, today's been one of those days about gorilla tape and taping everything down. I wouldn't change a thing. You've got it going on, and it looks good. Your curve is beautiful, and your dynamic range is right where you want it. It's not too fat. It's just choice. So I would leave it like that. And I think you'll agree when you hear the sound. This 73. Well, we had a Yaesu 990 for about 3 years, and we cut our teeth on that, and always ran that with a very low RF front end, and so when we got onto the 7300, we set it up just the same way. So this recording is probably about as close as you can get to perfection. Roger.
Yeah, I do look forward to that. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you can do, but this as far as external devices, the boxes you get for EQing, but with the parametric EQ on this 101, it's hard as heck. I don't understand how it works still. What was confusing for a long time is I thought the lower numbers meant that I got a lower bandwidth. It turns out the opposite is correct. And then if you want to, if I set it for like 200, and for the lower frequencies, the central frequency, if I have it on 1, it controls a large area. If I put it on 10, it's just a little above and a little below 200 hertz, and that's counterintuitive. You'd think it would be the opposite, because they call it bandwidth, and I found out it's really not bandwidth they're talking about. That number is Q. So it took me over a year to learn that. Somebody told me, and I thought, gee, that makes a lot more sense. Anyway, I'm sorry to babble. W4NCQ.
Roger, Roger, Alan. Well, you know, we usually suggest a transmit bandwidth TBW of 100 to 2900. You can go higher than that, but what happens if you go higher than 2900? You start into hoeing in somebody else's yard, and they don't like it, and they'll come look for you with pitchforks. So 100 to 2900 gives you just a slice of daylight to you know, get along in life. Roger?
That's exactly what I'm running. Before I go to the parametric equalizer, I set the band pass to 100 to 2900, and then I have the low cuts rolled off very slowly, 6 dB an octave, at 150, and so they just gradually roll off. And then up at 3000, I have that high cut, like a brick wall. I have that rolled off at I believe it's 3. Anyway, it's much steeper. It's like a brick wall, because I don't want to hear anything. Wait, I'm talking about receiver now. I'm confusing myself. That's the receiver. I don't want to hear anything above 3000. But I don't want the lows to be cut off too sharply, because I found that causes, I don't know if they're artifacts or what, but it sounds, the bass is unnatural. So I let that drop off, they call it slope, gradually. I don't know what I'm talking about, really. I just kind of experiment, and this is where I've ended up. Anyway, I think there's somebody that wants to talk to you, is breaking in there. So let me get it back to you. W4NCQ of Black Mountain.
Roger, Roger, Alan. Our receiver, the 7300, we've got all the filters off as best we can. We've got, you know, all the noise reduction off. Just trying to get it as flat and normal as possible to get a good idea of what's going on. You know, if you get all this noise reduction going on and stuff like that, you can't really tell what's going on, because that does affect the audio, received audio in your receiver. If you you know, have the noise reduction on and all that stuff, it sounds good, but it's not real. And that's the thing that I need to hear is reality, and that helps me. This 7300 is probably about as real as you can get, so it really helps me make decisions about EQ curves and you know, noise in somebody's microphone, breathing too much. Well, not too much, but ambient noise from breath noise and stuff like that. So anyway, Alan, I think you got it going on, buddy. I think you're overthinking the whole thing. Enjoy. I think you've attained pretty much perfection on that radio, Roger.
Yeah, thank you. That's half of the game, playing with that. There aren't many things you can play with anymore, with, you know, surface mount technology, all that stuff, microphones and EQ settings and antennas. That's about all that's left for mortal non-electrical engineers to mess with. W4NCQ.
Roger, Roger, Alan. Well, gosh, hope you get a chance to check out your recording. I think you'll love it. And I'll have it uploaded to YouTube by noon tomorrow. So 73, Alan, you have a great afternoon, beautiful weekend. And if you get a chance, join us next Friday, Roger.
And I look forward to that recording. W4NCQ, I'm going to listen.
Roger, Roger. This is KC9VKV, Friday afternoon. Qso-Vlog net. That's not nut, that's net. And if you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.